In this daily drop, I'm going to go over my main setup for an upcoming 5-day B-roll shoot. So let's go. All right, everybody, back here in the barn and time to talk about equipment again. And what I have coming up on the heels of that 3-day interview setup I did last week is B-roll. This is a long-term project and we're getting close to the end of this phase. But there's going to be about 5 days of B-roll that is there to capture a lot of the footage that we need to tell the stories from not only the interviews I did last week, but the ones that we've been doing over the last many months. So what I need is a setup, especially for the interior part of this shoot, that is going to be lightweight, nimble, allow me to work quickly. So I'm going to go over what this basic setup is. And then because this shoot is going to be taking up a lot of this week into next week, I'm probably going to do some back-to-back, maybe to-back episodes of the Daily Drop. If you see me in this same wardrobe again, you'll know that that's the case. Okay, so here's the basic setup. Camera-wise, the decision was to go with the EOS C80, a little bit smaller in terms of form factor. The C400's back there shooting this episode with the 24-105. So this is the main camera. It's got up to 10 stops of ND, which is fantastic. I have over here this little small rig, little eyebrow. So when I'm outside with the camera and I take it off of this rig, I can quickly flag the light. Pretty inexpensive. I have a couple of these so that I can put them onto 2 cameras if I need to, and Bob's your uncle. Lens-wise, let's just go over that. And if you hear my audio dipping a little bit, it's because I'm being boomed here, so I am turning towards this setup sometimes. So let's just go ahead and take a look at this. A little Inception-y over here in terms of the monitor. Main lens that I think I'm going to be using almost all of the time is going to be the relatively new 28-70 lightweight zoom. This is an RF mount. So it's an f2.8, so it's a constant aperture. And I think that with a full frame sensor is going to be where I'm going to live most of the time. And when it comes to shooting with the camera, I'm probably just going to leave it in Canon Log 2 Cinema Gamut. And then I have a viewing LUT or look that I can turn on and off. Probably going to use the Phantom LUTs for this particular shoot, the neutral sort of ARRI style look, because one of the other cameras that's going to be in play is from the school, which is an FX30. So I'm going to be bringing some additional lenses for that, a couple of bodice lenses from Zeiss, the 40 and the 85. And also the little Sigma 18-50, which is a little Rockstar lens in terms of stuff. So that's kind of the setup. And then that camera would also use the same Phantom LUT, the neutral kind of ARRI style one. That way, we should be getting pretty close. Is it going to be perfect? No, but this is B-roll, so I think we're going to be okay. So that's the camera setup. And then in terms of powering what this is sitting on, because as you can see, it's sitting on a slider. This is the iFootage Shark Nano II. This is the shorter version. I wanted this to be really compact. Sitting on a Benro tripod, which I really love because it has all of these 3/8/16 taps around it so I can mount things and stuff. And then below here is the power for this thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you that. I'm using a little quick release system from iFootage, their Q38 system, and I've put that on the top of this, which is the PD140H battery that they sell. So this is a pretty high capacity battery. This will power this slider for what I'm doing all day long. Not using the DJI RS4 for this because I don't need those types of shots for what I'm going to be doing. It's important to think those things through because sometimes deciding to bring a particular piece of gear can actually slow you down, especially if you know the types of shots that you're trying to get. And while I'd love to get maybe a shot of starting on a beaker in the science lab, coming up to seeing students' faces doing the experiments, I can get to that place with this setup. I do have a fluid head here. I can do some things to get similar shots, but I can get there faster. All right, so let me go ahead and just reattach this first. I'm just gonna go over to the other side and do it from there because otherwise it'll look pretty clunky. So just give me a second. Still here and still rolling. Here we go. And let me just make sure, there we go. Locked. So that just sits underneath there in terms of the battery. And then in terms of this over here, from a monitoring standpoint, yes, I can use the built-in screen. It's going to work. It's going to be fine. But it's much nicer to have a larger monitor that's playing in this situation. So what I do have here is I have my iPad Mini 6. It's got this cage here from Accsoon, and on the back, the key to the castle is the Accsoon SeeMo 4K. So I don't need wireless stuff for this. This is all going to be self-contained. This is sitting on the back of the cage. And then what's happening is I'm powering it off of a Sony NPF style battery. I'm actually doing the same thing here that terminates on the other end to USB-C power delivery. That's plugged into this battery, and that's what's powering all of this stuff. This gets an HDMI signal that goes into the SeeMo 4K right here. And then that signal gets output to the iPad via USB-C. So that's coming video out into the iPad. And I find this to be a pretty elegant solution. And I'm getting a monitor here that is, just give me one second. Come on, there we go. I'm getting a monitor here which is considerably larger than even going with like a 5-inch or a 7-inch monitor. And it has all of those view assist tools that you would expect to have. So I have a waveform monitor, I have a vector scope, I have all of that kind of stuff. And this is the basic setup. So this is going to allow me to move around very, very quickly. 28 to 70 as my main camera lens. And then the sister lens, the 16 to 28 if I need something wider. So that's there. And then the only other lens, well, maybe two. I've been thinking about this. But the only other main lens that I'm going to be bringing is the 35mm f1.4 VCM lens that's RF mount. So this is going to be a great lens when I need to open that aperture up a little bit more. C80 has 10 stops of ND, so I'm not really worried about that. And this is the basic setup. So this is going to allow me to do what I'm going to do. I had mentioned that I'm thinking about one more lens. I might bring the 100mm macro lens with me just for certain things, because there's going to be certain things that we're shooting like in the science lab where I may want to get in a little bit tighter in terms of what is happening. I think this is going to do the job. If I don't use that 100mm macro, the nice thing about this camera is I can shoot full frame or I can shoot in Super 35. So even that 70mm lens can get quite a bit of additional reach, but you know, you can't go wrong with a 100mm macro lens. So there you go. That's my basic setup for the B-roll shoot. I'll be talking about some more stuff for this B-roll shoot in other episodes. And where am I going? Here, I'll close the monitor, give it a little bit more space. Maybe we'll put it right there. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.